Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. Welcome to another episode of Millionaire Secrets. Jeff Lerner here. Always thrilled to be here, partly because I love this show, I love this audience, but especially because I love my amazing guests. It's like getting to hang out with cool people and call it work when it's like what I'd want to be doing anyway. So in that vein, we have Nicholas Bayerle with us today. He is the creator of the Billion Dollar Brotherhood, the website billiondolarbody.com. Entrepreneur, author. He's got a great book that I'm hoping he'll tell us about. And I can really relate to him because apparently he used to be broke, fat, and depressed, just like me. Woo! So welcome my formerly broke, fat, and depressed, now fit, happy, fulfilled, and affluent friend, Nicholas. Welcome to Millionaire Secrets.
Jeff, I appreciate it, man. And for the people that are listening, my life changed for the negative in one moment, which caused me to be broke, fat, and depressed. But I always say if it can happen negatively, it can happen positively in just one moment. So I'm hoping we can create those positive moments that also happen for me. And also your last name, I have to tell people, how do you pronounce your name? And I say, Nicholas Bayerle, like I barely made it here. And yours is so cool. It's like Lerner, like I learn all the time. And so your last name kind of beats mine when in the explaining side.
Well, I'm in the education business, so it really worked out pretty perfectly for sure. I've never met anybody with the name teacher, but frankly, it's more important to be a learner that spills over into teaching than to be a teacher that, I don't know, maybe does or doesn't learn enough. So
leaders lead by example. I 100% agree.
Yeah, there we go. So, man, and this is for context. We had a great conversation on your podcast. So I kind of feel like we're picking up where we left off, only last time we talked, I got to talk about myself quite a bit. And I'm excited to flip that script and get to know you as well as you got to know me. So this will be a lot of fun, but I already know going in, we're of such a like mind, so many similarities in, both belief and experience. But do you mind going back to that maybe dark time in your life? Like, how'd you end up there? What were you struggling with? And in a nutshell, how'd you kind of turn that corner?
Totally. So I'm going to give people a lens to look through, because what I found is that you may listen to something, you pick up on what you notice, and then you miss the things that you don't notice. I had a mentor once that told me, Nicholas, watch these 4 hours of videos. I watched them. I took 150 pages of notes. Every slide on everything they taught, I wrote down. And he said, what did you think about the testimonials? I go, what? Yeah, I wrote them down. I wrote how many. I wrote all this stuff. He goes, you missed everything I wanted you to learn. 4 hours. I didn't learn one thing you wanted me to learn until he told me to look for it.
Right.
So a few things real quick is, like you said, I was 60 pounds overweight and I was struggling in that area. I was too afraid to ever share that with anyone, and I'll share why in just a minute. And I'm also going to share a little bit of my story, and then I'll talk about why the things that I shared was important. So I'm going to share it, and then I'm going to teach on why I shared it in the first place. So
cool.
A little bit of context for me was that my parents, I thought they were married. Apparently they weren't. I always told people in second grade, my parents are divorced. 4 years old, my parents broke up because they never even got married. I grew up with a sister who had a different mom and a brother who had a different dad. So already I'm like divided in all these different ways. I don't have a mom and a dad with the same brother and sister. My parents broke up when I was 4. Around 7, they hated each other. This is the relationship where it's like, when you're 18, we're never going to talk again. So at 7, I'm feeling this conflict because my dad's the disciplinary, which is pretty normal. And my mom's the comforter, which is pretty normal as well. And so I'd get disciplined by my dad and I'd run to my mom and I'd go hang out at her house because she wouldn't discipline me, and I'd go over there. So anytime that things got hard, I always ran away from it. They always clashed as well. Could you imagine my dad saying, why are you always letting him off of being grounded and all these things? And my mom's like, why are you such a jerk? Because she's hearing my side of the story.
Right.
Oh yeah, he's a jerk. And so at 7 years old, I wrote my first suicide letter. I was like, I'm done. Like I'm the one who's causing all the problems. That wasn't a really good place to be in life. I also wanted the approval of my dad so bad. For the people that are listening, that maybe they did it with their coaches. You know, you work extra hard so that you can get some type of attention. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the quote, but I would say that it's a profound way to say it, which is that attention, babies cry for it and men die for it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so I wanted my dad's attention. I would like go ride motocross, and that's what my dad wanted to do in life. And what we found from the baby boomer generation was generally they had a dream. No one ever helped them with it. So they have a kid and they give the kid the dream that they had, wishing that the kid wanted it as much as they did, even though they wanted it their entire life and built this desire for it, and the kid never asked for it. So imagine what that is for me.
Wow. I just want to take a beat on that. You just described an entire generational dynamic that makes suddenly Little League makes so much sense, both the players on the field and the parents in the stands. Anyway, keep going, but thanks for that observation.
100%. So think about this. My dad, what did he get from his dad? Well, a tire for his motorcycle, but he had to do a paper route and go earn this thing. So when I'm 5, when I was 4, I got my first motorcycle. But it was like, why are you so ungrateful? Well, because I didn't sit there and dream about this for freaking my whole life and create desire inside of myself. But I wanted my approval from my dad. So right around 12, my dad used to go down the same route from through the living room, through the kitchen, down 3 stairs into the garage and out the back door so he could drink and smoke and hide it from my stepmom when he was not supposed to. So I'd always hang out with my dad, and I'm like, this is the moment. This is where he's going to embrace me and say, I love you. And I was going to go all in. I'm going to tell him that I want to be the best motocross racer in the world. When I heard Ricky Bobby, you're either first or you're last, the whole shake and bake thing.
Right.
I was like, this is the story of my life. Everyone was laughing at it. I was like, no, this is like literally what it is. If you're second place, I don't want to play. So I go into the garage and I tell my dad, I want to be the best motocross racer in the world. Let's get a tutor. Let's go out there. We're going to do this together. And I thought he's going to look at me and be like, yes. And he looked at me and said, you'll never be the best. And it crushed me. I gave up on everything. That was the one moment that shifted my life for the negative forever. I put 365 days played on one video game over my whole high school. So that's an average of 10 hours per day, including during school, which is absolutely insanity. I put in my 10,000 hours on that one thing. I lost all my friends. I had a 1.8 GPA, gained 60 pounds. I had no girlfriend for 7 years from that moment all the way until 7 years later. And I was failing in every area that we now teach as a 3-dimensional businessman, which is health, wealth, and relationships, which I didn't know were 3 core markets that every single company's in. I thought I was discovering this crap for the first time. I was like Christopher Columbus, but everyone already had yachts. I was just out there building my own boat. And so all of a sudden, there was one moment that shifted my life forever. And this just shows how simple it can be. And when you talk about education and the power of education, I didn't have a podcast for someone to show me, a YouTube video, a course that I could invest in for pennies on the dollar compared to the return. I had nothing. So I was motivated, but I didn't know what to do. I remember one kid brought this bag of fruit to school. And I was on the cinnamon roll chocolate milk diet, like hot chocolate in the winter, chocolate milk in the summer. Big cinnamon roll. That's the diet I was on. 60 pounds overweight, insecure, same sweatshirt every day. I used to tape down my nipples every single day so that I didn't have as big a man boobs. But I had literally, it was raw, like blisters all over my chest. But no one ever saw it. Never told anyone this either. Too embarrassing. And this kid told me he was a boxer on a meal plan, wanted to weigh in at the correct weight, and had a trainer. I was like, boom, I'm going to do this. Lost 60 pounds in 6 months. Gave me the confidence to go out there, reconnect with my father. I started seeing, dude, this is the thing that gave me the confidence to go back out here. I went out and I found my now wife, 8.5 years. I have a 9-month-old son at the time of this recording. And I had all these things that money couldn't buy. And I'm like, I have a wife. I have my health. I'm shredded at this point. And I still felt like I was missing something. And when we got married at 20, my wife was 18. We launched a business, failed. For 3.5 years, dude, I carpet cleaned for my main source of income. I was telling people at 20, I was retired. 22, I was cleaning carpet. I made $19,000 the first year, $21,000 the second year. I wanted to be a millionaire by the time I was 25. 23, I was making 21 grand a year. And I had given up on everything that you stand for. I'd given up on the education. I go, man, I tried it and it didn't work. I went to the events, all they didn't work. I just started looking at everything I had done And I thought, if they make money and I don't, they're winning and I'm not. So I tried to do everything on my own, found myself into seclusion until my wife and I, she went to an event, and I hardly ever go this deep in everything. I don't know why, and I'll tell why in a second though. She invested $5,000 into another event, which to the 97% of people, which statistically 97% of people are either dead or dead broke by the age of 65, relying on their friends, family, and government for their main source of income. Not good. I looked at it and I said, you're at an event and you're paying $5,000 to go to another event with the same people that are at that event, but just a smaller group of them. She's like, yeah, we really need to do this. Oh man, telling her no would be the dumbest thing ever, because I'd rather say yes to her. I already know I'm wrong if I tell her no. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm wrong if I tell her yes. We invested. 6 months later, nothing changed. Still cleaning carpets. Still have a dream of helping other people lose weight the way that I did. I thought my product isn't good enough. I don't have a good enough website. My transformation wasn't good enough. And the big thing is I never told my story. I tried to help people, but they told you your body's your billboard. That's like telling someone your bank account's your billboard. No one cares about what you've been through. They just care about how big your bank account is. Well, good luck, dude. You got Warren Buffett, you got Bill Gates, you got all these people that are going to stomp you any day of the week. So that would never give you confidence. So finally, we're leading up to this event that the guy told me, Nicholas, can you share on some health stuff? The owner of this mastermind. I go, oh my gosh, dude, I've never spoken in front of anyone before. I go, but sure. Yeah, totally. I'll do it. It's 40 people. I go up there and I say, I'm going to tell my story. And for the first time, and you sparked this through saying, Nicholas, you were overweight, depressed. I'm like, I would have never told anyone that. I didn't even show my wife my driver's license photo of when I was fat until we were engaged. She stole it from me. I hid it from the world. I thought my story didn't matter. I thought my story, if it did matter, wasn't good enough. Other people lost more weight, were more rich, married longer, had more kids. And I ultimately was afraid that if people knew who I was, they would leave me. And then I started thinking of my inspiration as a kid, Eminem. Like, this guy went up there and said, I don't care. I'm just going to tell everyone where I'm at, what I've been through. And it made everyone connect to him. I went up there. I said, this is why I was fat. This is how I got fat. This is who I was. I was fat. I broke down crying, dude, in front of everyone. Never cried in front of my wife before. And I felt like I was such a loser. I didn't serve them at all. Didn't teach them. And my wife had to help me finish the talk in front of the 40 people. That community still talks about that like 6 years later to this day, where that connected everything. I did over $20,000 in sales, not even meaning to. I didn't sell anything. They just all wanted to hire me because they all found myself in the story. So since then, I've been on a mission of not just helping these men lose weight. That's how it started. But I started going through, these were the 3 areas I couldn't outsource. And we created this thing called a 3-dimensional businessman. You talked about my book, Modern Day Businessman. I wrote that. It became a bestseller. And that was just what spearheaded this thing that we now call brotherhood, getting these guys together that all run businesses, that want to run businesses and don't want to sacrifice their personal life. And I know it because I was 60 pounds overweight, didn't have a girlfriend for 7 years, tried to build a business for 3 years, couldn't do jack squat, and took the mess that I had gone through, that I'd overcome, made it the marketing message that I put out there. Everyone connected with my failures more than my success. I thought if I make 7 figures, everyone will buy from me. No, a lot of them had never made 7 figures. So they didn't even know how to relate to that. They're like, oh, good job. But when I was like, dude, I was so fat. I was so insecure. I lived in a 400 square foot apartment when I tried to build this business. They're all like, yes. And then they saw that I made it, which is a big distinction, by the way. You don't want to just learn from people that are losing or just people that won easy. And if I could cap it off with this one last thing, is that people follow you for 2 reasons. Either because they want to be like you, which is what most people flex. And it should be that way. Like when I look at you and you've built these $50 million company, all this stuff, naturally, without you trying, people go, I want to be like that. But what happens is people get so far in this flex that they think, okay, what's the thing that I could do today that's what people want to be like, rather than just being themselves? Because the second part that's even more effective is actually someone that they're just like. They want to be either like someone that they're just like, or they follow you or buy from you because they're just like you, or because they want to be like you. And what I found is back in the day when you lived in New York City and you wanted to sell something, or you lived in Arkansas, it was dependent on the market that you were in. Now we can reach everyone at any time. So now you can be yourself, attract people as your personal brand in your company, and not have to be anything different. And you'll hit both of those categories. And those are the things that launched us out into business and have continued to make us prosper.
Man, I swear you must have been on my live yesterday, because it's like this right in the same lane. I mean,
That's cool.
It's so true, and it's so powerful, and it's so repeated now. The whole lean on your story-based marketing, how to develop an effective personal brand. It's so oft repeated now by successful people that it feels a little bit like a cliche, but it's one of those cliches that you can't dismiss as a cliche, because the reason it feels that way and the reason all the successful people are saying it is because it's literally what works. It's actually the truth. It's like saying, I don't know what another thing that sounds like a cliche is. It's like saying, well,
you're
the first
some of the
rule of
5 people
investing
you
is don't
surround
lose
yourself
money
with.
or something. Well,
Yeah.
that's that's been oft repeated, but it's like the absolute truth. And what I think that I pick up from you that, frankly, I think the feedback I've gotten is that this is true for me too, is that it's finding that have your cake and eat it too way of marketing and branding to the market, where sure, you have what a lot of people aspire to have, whether it's success or a great family, great marriage, good health, whatever, hopefully, to your point, you have all those things, but you're still who they are. You may have things they don't have and that they want, but you haven't become some other douchebag person that isn't still who they are and who we are. I say we, it's just us. It's who we are, right? As people, you're still the fat guy. You're just, you just did different things. I'm still the depressed, broke guy. I just do different things. I focus on different things. I divert my energy or direct my energy into different things. And so I get different results, but I'm pretty sure if they did a DNA test, I'm still the same guy.
And think about the number one objection that people give, though. They look at your program and they'll say, well, obviously he's done it. They look at everyone else and they go, well, he has all these testimonials. They've done it. But their number one problem is, I don't think it'll work for me. Right. And when they hear people like yourself, or even the way that we use it with strategic testimonials, of making sure that I used to just use all the testimonials. What I learned from one of my mentors that I talked about that I didn't see forever was that I just threw all the testimonials in the world up, and generally being a high achiever, I'm like, I want the big ones. I want the guys that lost the 100 pounds. I want the guys that made millions of dollars. Like, I want the guys that just rip everyone a new one and show them, look at what we do does works. And he was like, no, like you need different testimonials that reach different people. Yeah. And I almost look at them like free offers. Like one of your free offers is something around the lines of quickest way to become a millionaire, from what I remember.
Yeah.
And I might have switched a couple words. And the thing is, with that free offer, it attracts a certain type of person. Just like for me, if someone's driving a Ferrari around town, I automatically am like, oh, that's sweet. Like I want to meet that guy. Right. Because I'm like, oh, we have something in common. He has something. He's done something. It attracts me. Each story that you tell of yourself, or each story that you share of a client, it'll relate to a different person. There's no wonder why I don't have a lot of product-based companies in my community. Why? Because my dad ran a brick and mortar carpet cleaning company. So I get all the service-based people, knowing that I came from that world. And then I went into health coaching and built $7,500, $12,500 health services, scaled that company. So I get tons of info, masterminds, people that want to create a men's movement like me. Why? Because that's my story. And they feel like, oh man, like that's what I relate to. Yeah, I have like a handful of product-based companies. Why? Because I've never scaled an e-commerce store or a physical store of physical goods. And each testimonial, though, what if I wanted to get more physical product people? Well, now I just have to start sharing more stories of people that said, man, Nicholas is, he's been in the service-based industry and he's been in the coaching industry. I thought it wouldn't work for me because I'm in the product-based industry. But what I found is that when I used the strategies from a different industry, because I knew all the stuff in products, I took it from his industry, it blew me out, whatever. And then all of a sudden I'd get more product-based people. And so strategic testimonials or strategic storytelling, you don't want to just throw up every single story. The reason I told each one of the stories that I did is because I know that for our guys, they had struggles with their father, whether it was good or bad, perfect father or father that wasn't there. The reason why I told the story is because each person relates to it. The reason why I went so deep and talked about the tape over the nipples is because no one ever talks about that stuff, and it's a pattern interrupt. And in each of those stories, people find themselves. And I found that those are the stories that strategically would make people go, man, I related to this, or I related to that, or I related to not being able to tell my story or not think it was good enough. Dude, that was so hard starting out. When I was carpet cleaning and they say, you're the 5 people you surround yourself with. I go, great. What am I, like a freaking anchor? I make $1,500 a month and I smell like gasoline because I'm in a chemical filled truck with an engine in the van with the windows down all day so that I could even breathe and not pass out. And I'm supposed to go to a networking event. And the biggest problem that I went through was like, I was looking at where I was at rather than where I was going. So each person, I believe, like looking at you sleeping on your ex-wife's parents' sofa or some bed or
Spare bedroom, but yeah, it wasn't a very comfortable bed.
For me, talking big game and failing in front of everyone I knew and loved and trusted and not being able to provide for my wife, and we moved into a 400 square foot apartment, 110 degrees with no AC, those are big failures, and it's hard to find our identity in that. Yet people think, oh, if I just got as successful as Jeff, then it'd be easy for me. And for me, I had to catch a vision of who am I and where am I going, not based on my environment, because my environment's saying I'm a loser. I figure out, okay, everything in the seen world was first created in the unseen world. That's why when Walt Disney died, they said, oh, I wish you could have seen this. And everyone that knew him was like, no, he saw this way before it was ever built.
Right.
Because it would have never been built if it wasn't first seen. And same with our life. When we take responsibility for our life and say, this is what I'm going to create. This is where I'm going. I already see it before it happens. Now we get to shift this external reality around us from our internal belief and confidence. That's what got me out of the hole. That's what got me to start speaking confidently on podcasts. I was like, I know where I'm going. I've seen it. I've emotionalized it. I've felt it before. My brain doesn't know the difference of the realities. And to tell you the truth, which I hate saying that statement, but it just works in this context. I decided not to get mentored by my future self. I actually convinced myself that I switched places with him years ago. I'm like, I've seen where he's at. He's on that yacht with his whole family, and he doesn't care what people think about him. He already knows he's achieved. He already knows his worth. And I decided, what if he were to jump in my shoes? Much like if I were to tell people, if you could go back to high school, knowing what you know now, how would it be? People think, dude, I would crush it in sports. I'd know all this stuff. I'd start this venture. I'd invest in Pokemon cards and Bitcoin. And it's like all these different things, right? And I'm like, okay, now imagine if you could do that the opposite way. I already saw the future of where I'm going. I see it as if it's reality. And now I'm back here getting to create that from the confidence and knowing that it's already going to happen. It gave me the abundance not to care about failure because I already know where I'm going to end up. And it gave me the confidence to feel like I had value, even when I was a carpet cleaner, feeling like I was an anchor to the community. And I still have to remind myself of that every day. Right before we get on this podcast, I think, what would future Nicholas do? Well, he wouldn't be afraid of sharing the message. He wouldn't be afraid of people not liking it. He wouldn't be afraid of all these different things. He wouldn't be afraid of wearing his son's favorite chain that represents something big to me because it's all diamond out and people will think I'm an asshole for wearing it, if I can say that. You know, people think that. If you stand out, put yourself out there, you could be rejected or loved. But if you just stay kosher in the middle, no one will ever notice you, but you won't be rejected either. But that's not how you build a movement. That's not how you build a company. And it's not how you get your message out there.
Yeah, truly nobody becomes successful without, allowing the world to stay indifferent about them. You're out there, you're polarizing by virtue of the fact that you have a message or something you believe in strongly, and any strong belief is polarizing, period.
100%.
I don't care if you believe strongly in the preservation of cats. There are people who strongly agree with you and strongly disagree with you and all points in between. And by the way, some human beings, when they disagree with someone because they're insecure, they also need to tear that person down. So just accept it. Actually see it as a sign of progress, And
as a company, I think you just hit on something really big, was that when I was first building our company, BDB, helping these men become three-dimensional, we now host these masterminds and we have educational platforms and we host retreats. When I first started out, I used to say things that were in the middle. Like if I were to be a cat preservation person, I would say, we should really respect and take care of cats out there. Yeah, everyone would be like, sure, sounds good. And I used to say this, guys, we should really rise up in the home and take better care of everything. And then my friend, Kaylin, who owns a company called Lady Boss, they were actually the 4th fastest growing company this last year and the #1 B2C fastest growing company. And it was so interesting. She goes, Nicholas, like, you need to be polarizing. You need to figure out what you stand for and what you stand against. And it doesn't mean you have to stand for everything that you don't know about. Just what do you stand for and stand against? So I started saying things like, the number one reason why homes are failing is because men aren't stepping up. Things like that. And it was like, people could say yes or no to that. It was very black and white. It wasn't gray. And all of a sudden I started having grandma and all these people reach out and be like, I don't know about that. I don't think that that's true. And like, but that's where I started reaching more of the people. I mean, you see people doing it with either they hate Make America Great Again or they love it. But there's people right now grossing 1.5 million followers just because they're like, I'm going to speak to the people that love this. And there's a certain portion that do. And it works. But I don't see anyone growing from saying, well, I'm kind of like going to vote independent this year because that's so polarizing.
Let's make America great. But it's also, it's already pretty great. I mean, so like, because it's like they don't want to offend anyone, but I totally get what you mean.
She told me this. She said, Nicholas, if everyone likes you, no one will love you. And she said, but if people love you, they're going to hate you.
Preach, brother. That is so true. I'll tell you one thing that I've really gotten traction with in the last 12 months. You're putting a fine point on here's the thing. It's what I believe. It's not like a tactical pivot. It's just me getting comfortable saying what the hell I actually think, which is, I think if you want to retire comfortably, you need at least $5, probably $10 million, depending on where you live.
Totally.
That fries people's brains. They're like, I have a money manager and he says I'm on track because I'm 55 years old and I have $600,000 saved and I'm going to be good. I'm like, I hope you never have a medical mishap. I hope you never have a grandson that needs to go to drug rehab. I hope you don't have to pay for anybody's wedding. I hope your wife doesn't tell you that she wants to go on a 90-day cruise around the world. I hope you don't have any unanticipated spikes in expense and that you're going to be totally good living on $41,000 a year, even 10, 20, 30 years from now when inflation makes 41 worth 21. I hope you're good with all that, Mr. $1.2 million to retire. How about you fire your money manager and start a business? People don't like it or they love it.
Totally. I 100% agree with that. And I think that if everyone can find those things, because that's what you care about. So if I were to go say that, I'm just saying something polarizing. And I think that's where people get tripped up. They start thinking, well, I should probably start talking about who I'm voting for. Maybe for me, I'm not smart in that area. So I don't even want the pushback. People saying, well, how is the government ran? I'm like, dog, I don't know. So this isn't my area of expertise. So I just don't really talk about it. Other people do. It's awesome. I talk about men.
Yeah.
And that's my area of expertise.
I love your movement, by the way.
Area of expertise. And I say things that I don't believe sometimes later. And that's okay too. Even my biggest fear of writing this book was that things in here I wouldn't believe in the future. And one guy just asked me one day, and this might be fun for everyone to do listening. He said, Nicholas, what do you believe about, and we went through a couple situations, about these situations, just based on what you know today, but with the freedom to know that with new knowledge, you could change your belief tomorrow. Mm. And I was like, wow. So I told him something very polarizing that I wouldn't even say on a podcast. And he goes, awesome. Thanks for telling me that. Because it was he was like, if you get new info tomorrow, we could change it. But we think we have to believe in what we believe in forever and we can't ever change it. And I may say, hey, the best thing to invest in right now is Pokemon cards. But then in 2 years, it might not be. And sometimes we have to give ourselves the grace that it's okay to grow, change, evolve, yet to get our message out there, we have to be willing to do that.
I'll own it, dude. In my mid-20s, I was going around. I had just joined this MLM, and I was absolutely convinced that MLM was the key to prosperity and a life of freedom. And here's the thing that I got to own. I was no less convinced of that then than I am of what I believe now. But now I no longer agree
because that means you believe in what you believe now a lot, because in MLM, we don't know any of the issues behind the scenes. We just get fed all the good stuff.
Yeah. So we're drunk on the Kool-Aid.
That means you really believe what you're doing now, which is pretty impressive. It took me a lot of years. I was like, I don't know. I still see the holes in my stuff. But in that stuff, I was like, this cures cancer, dude. This is amazing.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. It's actually interesting the way you almost have to, because when people are starting out, what is my message? What is my belief system? What is my USP to the market where people come to me for this belief. I mean, and that's really what it is. Go watch the Start With Why presentation by Simon Sinek. People do business with people who believe what they believe, right? So you gotta, if you want to grow a business really fast, get really clear on what you believe. And you go, well, how do I get clear on what I believe? Because I can only believe what I believe. And if my beliefs aren't clear, how do I fake it? You don't fake it by creating a belief you don't have, but it's okay to test out angles and emotional intensity and ways of delivering things that feel true-ish, and just kind of try them on as you're working out your message. I mean, don't contradict yourself, but try to lean in so that you can start to actually develop that conviction that's ultimately attractive to people. And I just got to say, because I know we don't have a ton more time because we both have meetings kind of impending. What you said about, we always say, if I could go back to high school knowing then what I know now, oh my gosh, I would mop up. I would, score all the touchdowns and get all the girls and ace all the tests and buy Bitcoin, right? I didn't shoot. If I'm older than you, I'd have to invent Bitcoin. But I love, dude. But then to actually take that past present relationship and shift it to a future present, where instead of the present going back in the past, it's the future coming back into your present. Dude, you just rocked my world, because when I think about Entra and what I've built in the last 2 years, and the level of lunacy that it appeared to have when I started, where I was just doing all these rants, posting videos, getting seemingly more haters than likers. And that would be like, I'd have 7 people watch the video and 5 of them would tear me down and 2 of them would give me a thumbs up. I mean, it was brutal, but it was like, I just somehow knew that the world needed this type of education and galvanic force. Very similar, frankly. You and I are very similar. If we were more scarcity-minded people, we'd probably view each other as competitors, because you talk about health, wealth, and relationships. I talk about physical, personal, and professional excellence. You explicitly focus on men. I naturally attract about 70 to 80% men in my world, just because I'm a, married dad, husband, or a 40-something married husband. That was a redundancy. But anyways, yeah, man, that is genius. Dude, if everybody just soaks that up and is like, what would future me do now? Assuming future me is who I believe I'm in the process of becoming.
And it's not based on what you have. So we had talked about, I have a book called The Modern Day Businessman. Instead of people buying it, they can go to nicholasbayerle.com/ebook, myname.com/ebook, and they can download it real quick. Go to the section where it talks about this. Basically, I'm sitting there in my mother-in-law and father-in-law's house, sleeping in the spare bedroom, cleaning carpets. And I'm sitting there like trying to build my business. I started asking myself, I said, you know what? I actually said, God, you know what? I'm going to lay down on this carpet and I'm not leaving here. I'll die of thirst, starvation, whatever, until I see a glimpse of my future and where I'm going, because I need something to hold on to. And I just laid there and just was like, put on music. And I just sat there and started dreaming. And it wasn't about the car that I had, because I don't know if we're floating or what type of watches will be in style, or if people hate watches, or if we'll be in those chairs like on that Wall-E movie. Who knows? But what I did know is how I felt. And I started playing those scenarios. I started seeing it. And for me, I was left 0 to 2. I was in a daycare. 2 to 4, I was in preschool. So I was on this yacht, and I was like, my family's stuck on the yacht. All of them, right? I have a mom, a dad, a stepmom, stepdad, step-grandpa, step-grandma, whatever. I have all these different people, parents-in-law. They're all on this boat together. And they can't get off because we're in the middle of the ocean. And I was like, wow, this is so cool, because we're all together finally. And I started like just seeing myself up front, and I just felt accomplished. I was like, would I care what people think of me? I was like, no, like I already have done it. Why would I care about what they think? Would I care if they rejected me? I'm like, well, no, I've already like got everything that I want. And I started going through all these things that I felt. And then that's when I was like, people always say, be mentored by your future self. I was like, okay, I could ask him questions. Like this was like the Think and Grow Rich philosophy. And I was like, but what if I just had him jump in and just started being like, all right, like I'm just going to go back in time. It feels like switch places with him and just start speaking the confidence and being willing to learn, right? And that's where it really comes in. And that's where it's not fake it till you make it, is that you have the mentors around you. You have the community that can tell you when you're off. Because if you listen to everyone's 2 cents, dude, everyone's got 2 cents. And usually it's only worth 2 cents. I don't listen to it. I'm like, that's why I got a mentor. That's why I got these friends that can tell me if I'm off. They can tell me if I'm doing the wrong thing. They can tell me if I'm acting stupid or if my offer's not, whatever it is, because everyone will have 2 cents. And I just started really believing in that. And that changed me forever. So they could read that inside the book, and it walks through like the process that we take all our guys through. We have them go back in time, and then we have them go forward in time. What is life like? We lead them through it, and then we rip that person in the present, and we consistently say, hey, I know how you're showing up right now, but how would he show up?
Mm.
Like, oh yeah, this is how I make decisions.
Powerful, man.
Pretty cool.
I'm actually, and the cool thing about that is it's not a one-time exercise. You can always talk to or call your future self present, because he's always going to be more evolved and further ahead than you are.
We're in COVID right now, and people are like, I'm losing my job. My business is going down. I'm freaking out. I need to cut expenses. I'm like, yeah, but didn't you already see where you're going? Yeah. Okay. So chill out for a second and start having peace at the fact that you know where you're going in life, and this isn't going to end you. And it's such a different feeling because people start making decisions based on where they're at today. Tony Robbins says, make decisions while you're in state so that when you're out of state, you don't change your decisions. Yeah. What I found is most people make all their decisions when they're in scarcity. So they say, I want to go to the gym. I feel great. It's nighttime. I'm going to go at 6 a.m. In the morning, they don't feel good. So they go, oh man, I'm not going to do that. So they don't follow through on the commitment.
Yeah.
They create unbelief inside of their own mind against themselves, and ultimately don't get that feeling of who's ever regretted going to the gym? Nobody. Why is there so much resistance to it every single day? It's because
it's actually one of the very few things you can do that you unequivocally know you'll be grateful for and will have no regrets. There actually aren't that. I mean, you saw your friend calls you for lunch. You say, yeah, sure, I'll meet you there, but you don't really know how it's going to go.
Yep.
You could end up going, that was a total waste of time, man. He was being an asshole, or I didn't feel it, or whatever. But the gym, it's a certain positive.
And listen, I'm the worst at it, dude. I'm the worst. Like every day, pretty much, I have seasons where I love going to the gym. And pretty much every day, though, I'm like, man, I don't want to go. I look at my neighbors and I go, I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to meet them. And then I go talk to them, and it's amazing. I get on podcast interviews with new people, and I'm like, I don't know this guy. I don't want to talk to new people. And then it's the best thing. I'm like, this is my best friend now. And I believe that 2020 is the year of wrongs, meaning we think things are going to go one way, and we feel it's going to go one way, and we're completely wrong. I've experienced that more this year than ever before. We just did a virtual event, thought no one would show up, thought no one would buy anything. We did $550,000 in sales in 3 days, and I thought nobody was going to show up. I told my team, let's just get this over with so we go back to work.
That's hilarious.
And I'm wrong. But I still did it.
It's funny you mentioned that. That's literally why I work out 7 days a week. Because if I say, I'm going to work out 5 days a week, then I get to choose which 5.
Yeah.
And it means every day I'm tempted to make it one of my 2 off days.
Totally.
If I work out 7 days a week, and I always work out first thing in the morning, 7 days a week, it's like I've already made that decision. I made that decision 5 years ago.
That's awesome.
So I'm now, after 5 years, I'm going to become the asshole that changes his mind. Like, it's stupid. You have to just create this like obvious, almost like boring level of certainty around your decisions. Listen, I know you've got a meeting coming up. You mentioned your book. I'll make sure we get that link and we put it in the description. I also want to mention that people can get a free copy of my book, which I've attached to this episode. So if they go to millionairesecrets.com/Nicholas B, you get a free copy of our book, and we appreciate you going there. And then we know that we kind of give credit to Nicholas. Dude, I know you got to go, but this has been epic. I hope that this will not, I know it won't be our last conversation. I hope it won't be our last podcast. Between the two of us, I think we should, let's give it a few months to breathe and maybe resume this conversation.
Totally, man. Totally down. We just scratched the surface. That was
I know so much. So especially, I can't believe you were even at your lowest time. You were living with your in-laws, dude. That's my story. You're stealing my stuff here, man. That's so cool, dude. Go do your meeting. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being a guest on Millionaire Secrets. Thank you to the audience out there. I love and appreciate you so much. You are truly the reason why I do what I do. Otherwise, it would be really weird for me to do what I do if there was nobody listening. So Thank you. And Nicholas, thanks again for being a guest, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.